Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dimitri Johnson, and you're listening to MMALatestNews.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
Welcome back to the second episode of Split Decision. My name is James Sweetnam. I'm joined, as ever, by Mitch Ivy. And we've got Harry Williams with us today from Severe MMA. How you doing, mate?
Doing good, mate. How are you?
Oh, terrific. Well, actually not terrific, because I was heartbroken over the weekend. Robert Whittaker, one of my MMA heroes, headlining in front of 57,000 of his own people, and he got well beat by Israel Adesanya. Mitch, I know you're a huge Izzy fan. How do you feel about this one?
You know what? I was sort of confident that he'd get it done. I wasn't as confident he'd finish it in such a fashion. He knocked him out clean in the second round. He could have got it done late in the first, but you know, he's the next biggest star of the UFC.
Absolutely. I think he's probably going to be the biggest star that we have around at the moment. Harry, how big a superstar are we looking at here?
I think he's something special, definitely. I mean, you see how he disposed of Robert Whittaker on the weekend, considering like Yoel Romero couldn't, and people before him couldn't even take Whittaker out. So for Izzy to do it in 2 rounds, I think we're looking at the next superstar. I mean, with all his like superhero like connections, which is fitting being in Marvel Stadium, his love for anime and his persona, his charisma. Definitely the next big star in the game.
Yeah, Robert Whittaker's sort of built a reputation. He's beat all these grapplers, hasn't he? He beat Jacare, beat Brunson, he beat Yoel twice. And I thought for me that put him in the pound-for-pound rankings. But from a striking point of view, I know Stephen Thompson was able to deal with him, and I was worried as a fan of his that going into this was a style that was all too wrong for him, and that proved to be the case. Israel got the result. How do we feel that he's going to match up with the elite likes Paulo Costa and people like that?
I think with Paulo, he's a very young, like, version of Yoel Romero in a sense. Like, I don't think he's gonna cause Izzy as much trouble as people might think. Like, he looks it. Like, if you put like sheer size versus Izzy, the majority of the division looks like they're gonna dispose of him through looks alone. But I don't think he'll cause Izzy as many problems as many people might think.
Yeah, and Mitch, one person who Israel has spoken about a lot and one person who spoke about him just as much is Mr. Jon Jones. Are we interested in that fight?
Right now, no. I want to see him defend that belt. We have to see him against probably Paulo Costa next. I think that's going to be an interesting fight, as you say. I think he's such a smart fighter, Adesanya. Now, going back to Jon Jones, if he can, you know, he woke up underweight on weigh-in day for this title fight that he's had. So adding an extra 20 pounds to that is going to be very difficult. So it's not the next immediate fight, but he wants him early 2021, I believe.
Yeah, Jon Jones has fallen out with an ex-trading partner, Frank Lester. Frank's accused Jon Jones of not paying him. We all know what Jon Jones has got up to in the past. Is he guilty? Is he not? What's your opinion?
Well, he's not said anything about it as of yet. I don't think he's responded, so we'll find out soon. But we know what Jon Jones antics are like. You know, he could have spent that anywhere.
Yeah, and probably the most mental news of the week came on the Believe You Me podcast with Michael Bisping when he popped out his eye. Harry, scary stuff.
Yeah, that wasn't for the faint-hearted. I mean, you saw, like, he's talked about in the past on the Joe Rogan podcast about like having like, his eye needs oil and stuff, but I don't think many people expect him to not have an eye to the state that he did, where he could take it out and just show it to the camera like that and then put it back in. Like, I mean, if he's going to get through the commissions with that, then maybe the commissions need to up their eye inspections.
Absolutely. Ask the people to pop out their eyes first. Something I want to just briefly touch on. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Michelle Waterson this weekend. We've just seen 57 people pack into the Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. If Michelle Waterson wins, a matchup with Zhang, 2 Asians, could we get a stadium fight over there?
Possibly. You could do it again in China. I don't know if they've got a yearly sort of lease to do that there. Again, I think Joanna Jędrzejczyk is just a little stronger than Michelle Waterson, but she's looking to become the first mum champ, and it seems to be in her favour. But again, I go with the Polish queen here.
Now, I'm going to touch a little bit on what's gone on in the WWE over the past couple of weeks. And Brock Lesnar, ex-UFC, was assaulted by Cain Velasquez. Obviously, Cain has beaten him before in a real case. Now they've got a bit of a rivalry going on, and I'm just happy that Cain Velasquez is torturing Brock in multiple organisations. What do we make of this?
I wasn't expecting it. I'd heard a couple of things online, like rumours that he was signing with them because of his work with Kane's work with AAA in Mexico, and like his work as a master wrestler recently, which for someone who's had so many back problems that's kept him out of MMA, seeing him do Hurricane Ranas and all sorts of twisting manoeuvres to like wrestlers in the pro wrestling world was very different. I didn't expect him to show up. It looked like Rey Mysterio brought his big brother to fight his battles. It was quite surprising, but I never expected, like, 9 years after the initial fight, for this to become a WWE storyline. I mean, if they can turn it into something that could possibly go further than Crown Jewel and the Saudi Arabia shows that obviously are a little bit controversial in themselves, I'd like to see it turn into something maybe long term, because I don't see Cain winning the title off Brock in the wrestling world. I mean, he's still got to have knee surgery, so I'm not expecting big things out of this rivalry. It might just be a big payoff for the Saudi Arabian fans.
Yeah, we know that Brock's ego is absolutely massive. He genuinely looked terrified as Cain was coming to the ring, but we know that I think Brock doesn't like to lose belts. He likes to be the star attraction, so if they are to fight in a WWE ring, you'd imagine it's going to be written that Brock Lesnar's probably going to win this one, Mitch.
Well, I know there was rumours about Brock Lesnar in fact retiring after the next WrestleMania. Now this is where it's probably being built up for the Cain Velasquez. Now whether I think Goldberg a couple years ago, or even last year, took the title off Lesnar at Survivor Series, and then they won it back down at WrestleMania. So something like that could happen. Cain Velasquez could get a quick victory here, and it's something built up throughout the rest of the year. We've got a Royal Rumble coming off the course. But it's interesting to see how they use that UFC match and the UFC era that they had together in that WWE storyline.
Yeah, and Tyson Fury was involved as well. He was taking on Braun Strowman, calling him a dosser. What do you think? Is this beneficial towards his career? I mean, there was over 3 million people watching that. He wants to become a pay-per-view star in the States, and this is only going to help him, surely. He's got the mouth to sell anything, hasn't he, Harry?
It was like an all-star show on Friday after, with Cain Velasquez popping up, and then I saw Fury in the front row. I thought, I didn't think they'd flown him out for anything. I thought he was just happy to be in LA, got an invite, like big Fox debut, a few stars, and then the whole Strowman sizing up thing. I thought this is going to become something, especially when he stepped over the barricade. I thought this is going to turn into something now. I thought maybe Survivor Series or WrestleMania, something to put in the works, but then you kind of think of the Wilder fight coming up in the new year. So I can see why they're trying to stamp on it quickly, and especially last night with Braun Strowman realising that he had power in his hands. For somebody who's 380 pounds, to be looking at your fist, being surprised you've got power in your hands, you know. Hopefully it's a good little attraction. Everyone's going to watch it. You couldn't say we're not going to watch it, but I'm going to be tuning in to see that one. Yeah,
and I know that WWE would be desperate for Conor McGregor, but we're hoping that he stays involved with the UFC. We're talking just before the show. He's looking very old now at 31 years of age. Dan Hooker's interested, Dustin Poirier's interested. What contest is he going to need, Mitch, to get him back out of what seems like retirement?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think Dustin Poirier, he pretty wants to put him back in his place. He's already beaten him once, and it seems that that's the fight to make with a rematch at 155. And I think realistically, that's the fight to make. So I think, yeah, that is the one to make.
Yeah, I think Dustin Poirier has improved loads since the last fight with Conor McGregor. But from an Irish standpoint, why would Conor want to take that fight? He's already beaten Dustin Poirier once. It's a huge risk. Do you think he'd be interested in that?
I think he's got... With the thing with Conor, no matter if he wins or loses his fights, there's always going to be somebody shouting to fight him next, because he's the money fight. Like, he changes people's lives, changes bank accounts. It's red party night when you fight Conor. That's been made known for the past couple of years. I would like to see the Poirier fight. It's an interesting one because it's a different weight class. Poirier's obviously done so much better than he did at featherweight, making the jump up to 155. I would really like to see that fight. I really would. But if Dan Hooker's first, then I've got no complaints with that either.
Yeah, and he's fought in Vegas in recent times, but I think he'd be tempted by Dublin. Mitch, if we could do a big do at Croke Park, I don't think it matters who he'd be fighting. Surely he'd be interested in that.
I think that would be a certain thing to be on that card, especially if it's going to be after UFC, but to have it in Dublin, in his hometown, it's the one place he's not yet fought on a UFC card, I don't think, and he's always said that he wants that spotlight.
Yeah, and Dan Hooker, who we've just mentioned, he put in an absolutely terrific performance against Al Iaquinta. I think he shocked a lot of people. I personally thought Al was going to do it, but Dan, I think, looked the best he's ever looked. Where is he going to go from here?
I think Dan next gets the Poirier fight. Poirier's one of those fighters where if you call him out and you're a high level, then he'll be like, sure, I'll take you. Like, I don't feel he's going to wait around for the Conor fight. He's going to want to get back in there, get active, work his way back up. So for Dan Hooker, I mean, I didn't expect him to dispose of him or drop him with that beautiful counter right hook that he did in the second or third round. I mean, it was a crowning performance for him, like in his UFC career so far. So I'm expecting I'm expecting the Poirier fight to get made next.
Yeah, somebody who I'm very sad for is Taito Avasa. When he was coming through, he was doing the shoeies, he was walking out to Titanic music, he looked like the next Mark Holland. I thought he was going to be a bona fide superstar, and then things just went so wrong for him against JDS. He hasn't won a fight in what seems like forever. Mitch, are we ever going to see this man fulfill his potential, or was he just a flash in the pan?
He's still very young. I think he's 26. Is he? So he's still got a lot of his career ahead of him. Heavyweights don't really come into their prime until 32, 34. But he is on a 3-fight loss streak, and that is a very dangerous one to be on for him.
Yeah, and that heavyweight division in general is very limited. I know we've got the likes of Stipe and DC, who are going to be rematching, hopefully, in the not-too-distant future. Francis Ngannou coming free, but really, is there anybody else that you're interested in?
In the heavyweight division, it's for the past couple of years, I think, since the last time, I think in 2012, I think it's UFC 146, they did an all-heavyweight card. I think that was when heavyweight peaked, because since then, like, the old guys like Arlovsky's, Little Sergey has come back down to earth. All the heavyweights, there isn't really anyone, and guys like Tuivasa, outside of the shoey, has not really got anything worth like noting at a high level with anything that he's been up to in the cage. I mean, this is the first time, like you said in the embedded this week, this is the first time this week that he's in a camp that he actually implemented strength and conditioning training. As a UFC heavyweight, to only just be implementing strength and conditioning training into your training, into your camp, it's woeful. Like, and I think it's shown his wrestling looked weak. Everything about his game looked weak this weekend. So he needs to go back to the drawing board. I won't be surprised if he gets cut. Yeah,
I wouldn't either, and it'd be a shame, but I think maybe the likes of Bellator would take him off if they want to break over into that market, but things are really looking grim for him. BJ Penn, things have really been looking grim for him. We talk about him all the time, constantly getting involved in street fights, and he's not even winning nowadays, but he's finally been cut by the UFC. Mitch, do we see him getting signed with Bellator, or do we see him retire?
That's going to be a lovely one for Bellator, but at the moment, he's just got too much heat on him, and the fact that what he's doing outside the cage and his antics are too dangerous, and it would be silly for them. It'd be a bad sort of, the attraction for Bellator if they sign someone like that.
Yeah, I know they're constantly liking to go to Hawaii. They're trying to break into that market, which for whatever reason, the UFC just hasn't done. But could you see him headlining out there?
I don't want to see him headline anywhere. I don't want to see him fight again. I mean, when he's been knocked out in the street as well, it's a horrible sight to see from a pure UFC legend. And I don't want to see him go over to Bellator. A couple of the fights Bellator have done recently, like the Shamrock and the Gracie fights and stuff, it's not made for nice viewing. The names alone, you're like, oh, who's Gracie, Ken Shamrock, even like Kimbo Slice, casual fans. But I think for us lot, the last thing you want to see is him over there. If you want to get into the Hawaiian market, then of course that's the one guy you're going to want to take in there. But I think it'll be a chip on Bellator's name if they do try and sign him and put him in there.
Yeah, Bellator, they're sort of gaining a lot of attention with these older fighters and the reality TV stars that are slogging in, the likes of Aaron Chalmers, and you've got Jake Hager from the WWE. But what do they need to do to really build superstars? Because they haven't got that much young talent for. I mean, I know there's the likes of Dylan Dennis, but there isn't a whole heap there.
It seems to be, like at the moment, they're the only big show that's really going to Ireland. I know Cage Warriors will return there soon, I think by the end of the year. But Bellator are really harping a lot onto James Gallagher. They're really harping a lot onto the Irish market themselves. I think right now he's their big star. They had a show on the weekend, but the majority of Bellator stuff, for them being like the second biggest promotion in the US, like outside of Asia really, them being such a big promotion, they just seem to always go, unless there's a big casual fight on, it seems to always just go under the radar, and I'm not really sure what they can do. If they keep harping onto James Gallagher, there's only so many guys you can give him where you can look at the record, you can see, oh, Gallagher's fighting a guy who's 11-7, 11-8. It's not a great, it's not a great look when you're trying to build like a genuine star, like to keep feeding him, because the casuals who are tuning in to see Conor McGregor's protege, they're gonna enjoy it. But those who know when you see the records and you're like, of course he was going to win that fight. They really do need to try and get a couple more stars, even stay in America, like they go to Italy and stuff as well, but there's just nobody there that it just seems to really be like a retirement league.
Yeah, and it's sort of got tones of boxing, hasn't it? The UFC made such a great living off the back of matching the best against the best. Every single fight on a main card isn't a mismatch. You've got good fights all the way down, whereas on Bellator, you know who's going to win before the fight's even started. Mitch, we talk about how boxing lets fans down like that. We don't want Bellator to do the same thing, do we?
No, I think they're getting a lot better with it. I think touching on what makes Bellator so good is their European series is fantastic. And if they can get into the European market maybe once a month perhaps, and just have a European card, you know, got like MVP, Paul Daly, Gallagher as you mentioned, and they've got some great names coming up. Cain Velasquez fighting this weekend, so good luck to him. And these Grand Prix are what makes them stand out at the moment. To get them traction on media is fantastic. So they need to stick in Europe, and I know they're thinking of getting to 10 or 20 European events. They want to get a lot more next year, and that's really what makes them stand out.
Yeah. Just before we finish off, Harry, I know you run a disability campaign. How do people get involved with that sort of thing if they're interested?
You can find us on Facebook at Project DIA, like facebook.com/Project DIA. Twitter, the same, at Project DIA. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter at Harry_Williams, and Instagram at Harry Williams MMA.
Yeah.
A lot to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I've had a wonderful time recording this today. I think we're going to have you on again to do an episode of Tap Out to preview Ben Askren versus Damian Maia, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wrestling. That's going to be an interesting one. But thank you for joining in. I've been Jay Sweetnam, Mitch Ivy, Harry Williams, and we'll see you next week.